Hey, spoiler day 3, so let's get right into it. So Jagex today spoiled all the Echo bosses and all the items they're going to drop, so I'm going to cover a few notes about all the bosses. I'm also going to talk about a really cool image that Yogi Bear put together, and I'm going to put a link for that in the description below. And then we're going to go over each boss and item. Now the boss fights haven't been spoiled yet, so we don't actually know the mechanics of them. I assume they're going to be kind of like a complicated version of the existing boss fights, so that there's definitely some learning curve, but it's also somewhat straightforward. But let's talk about that as we get to each boss. So first of all, you need to kill the first regular boss, and that will drop an Echo Orb. Now, some bosses will guarantee drop an Echo Orb, like Soul, and some bosses will have a chance to drop an Echo Orb. I think like the Smoke Devil is like a chance. But again, the Smoke Devil is one you can repeatedly kill. Soul is a little bit more of a difficult fight where you have to go through all the phases of the Colosseum. Each orb grants permanent access, so once you have the orb, that orb will give you permanent access to the Echo variant of that boss, and therefore there are unique Echo Orbs per region. But yeah, unlimited uses, so once you get it, you can just keep fighting it, which is really nice. So this is a really cool picture put together by Yogi Bear. He keeps updating all the versions as new things come up. He's already got the Echo variant out with all the items here. So you can see which items are in which region. And what's really cool is you can kind of look at this picture and figure out, oh, hey, this item was added here and this item's kind of missing this, you know? For example, in Thermonuclear, they added a ring, but Thermonuclear already has a bunch of rings. It is a very powerful ring, though. But it also adds an amulet, which Thermonuclear didn't have, other than the bone necklace. Right. And so it's a really cool image to look at. It's what I use to reference, what regions I'm going to pick once all the spoilers are out. So yeah, I'm going to put a link in the description below. So definitely check that out. Okay, Cerberus. This is an Asgarnia. Asgarnia has all the god swords, and now it has the dog sword, which is pretty much going to do every single special attack that all the other god swords do in combination. It was teased in the video that, if you can, boost your special attacks, and let's say you have the light bearer also from the desert region with this, and you could just be infinitely specking all the time. That would be amazing. Now, there are a lot of points associated to getting all the god swords, so if you're getting this region and you do want a lot of points, you might be killing the other bosses anyways. Well, what's nice is you can kind of just spam this new Cerberus and hopefully just get a super combination sword. So depending on how many points you want to go for, you might kill the different bosses, and you're also going to be going for their other drops. But just because you don't get, maybe the Zamrock hilt or the Bandos hilt, you can just focus on farming this one and have all of the effects in one, which is super powerful. I think it's really nice that you can just farm this one for all the sword effects, and then not have to worry about farming there. And then that it just becomes like a point activity. So this is kind of like an interesting trade-off here. This is locked behind 91 Slayer, which shouldn't be so far because we get 16 times experience at the top end. But just keep that in mind that it is gated to get a little bit later. Caly Queen. Now, there's no gate to this other than unlocking the desert and killing the Caly Queen. Again, the Echo Orb that drops from here, there's a chance, I believe, to drop as opposed to a guaranteed drop. So you might need to kill a few KQ kills, which does suck in the regular game, but remember, we're going to have relics, so you should be just powering through all those kills. And this drops a blowpipe, and this is super powerful, where it rolls the accuracy twice and uses the highest result, so it's super accurate. Overall, more powerful than the existing blowpipe. And it doesn't have a special attack, it looks like, but you do unlock darts in this region, so you're going to be able to have the darts, you're going to be able to use this new blowpipe, and that's kind of like a really nice ranged weapon. Now, don't forget, you do have access to Toa, and you do have access to getting the T-bow from the raids, and so this might be really good to kind of hold you through all of the range content pretty much until you get a T-bow. Again, this is going to be a really fast weapon, and for low defense monsters, it's just going to absolutely shred. So you're probably still going to use this in areas, where you need to kill monsters quickly for Slayer tasks or something like that. But yeah, this is on like the low to mid, even the high range, and then at the top end, you probably want to go for that T-bow from the raids. All right, Grotesque Guardians. Now, this is also gated behind Slayer, but a much lower level, 75 Slayer. When you get a Gargoyle task, and hopefully we can kind of pick our Slayer tasks, or at least somewhat pick our Slayer tasks this time around. Once you get that and you get the Brill Key, you have access to the Grotesque Guardians. Once you kill the Grotesque Guardians, I believe there was still a chance to drop the orb on this one, and so you still have to do that. Now, this this set of gloves, the gloves of the damned, is going to be your damned necklace, so therefore it amplifies all the Barrow's set effects. Now this one I actually kind of like the least. This item, is kind of, there's a few steps to kind of get to getting the item. And then once you have the item, you still need to get the full sets of Barrows, right? Now, there is increased drop rates, so there's a really good chance you're going to get the set. But in the odd chance that you just get unlucky and you just roll like 10 pieces of like Darok helms and no legs, that might be frustrating. And then, you might not have a full set. So that's what makes this item, to me, less exciting, but overall still pretty powerful, and you can kind of amplify the effects of the sets. King Black Dragon. Now this is the best in slot shields, I think, in the game. Pretty much. The stats are amazing. It's got prayer and melee strength. The only time I guess you wouldn't use it would be for magic strength, or if you're ranging with a two-handed thing. But even if you're ranging with like a one-handed crossbow, I would still probably use this just because of all the immunity effects. The defenses are great. The offensive bonuses are great. It's pretty much overall best in slot item. Amazing shield, worth killing King Black Dragon for. Again, the Echo Orb for King of Black Dragon, I believe, is a chance to drop, so you're going to have to do a few KBD kills. Now, the sword, Thunder Khopesh, is pretty powerful. It's got an AoE kind of effect. We've seen this AoE damage kind of in relics in the past, but what's nice is this is going to so passively have a 20% chance to trigger an AoE damage. So it's just going to make your, they showed a demo of like a Slayer task killing jellies. It's going to make that task go quite a bit faster. It's a one-handed weapon that's got really, good stats. But in addition to that, you can also use a special attack to do AoE damage. Also, this weapon does do full damage to Corp, and so it's a way, you're going to have access to Corp in the wilderness, and therefore it'll be a way to kill Corp faster and better overall. I'm not exactly sure if there's a lot of uses for this sword, but if whatever you can think of, just leave a comment below. I'm really interested in your ideas on where this sword would be really viable. If you get a Black Dragon task and you also had Mauritania and you had access to the Slayer Helm, then you would get a little added bonus. So I'd recommend, if you have Mauritania and the Wilderness, and that goes for every Slayer monster here, but getting it on task and doing it, I'm pretty sure the Echo variants should count towards the Slayer task. If that changes, I'll leave a comment below with updates and clarifications on that. Thermonuclear Smoke Devil. Again, another Slayer gated monster, so get 93 Slayer, get a Smoke Devil task, kill the Thermonuclear Smoke Devil, and then you'll get an Echo Orb variant for the Thermonuclear Smoke Devil, which you can kill. Now, this one has a really interesting weapon where it gives you an offhand that gives you, 6% magic strength, but it, exploits every single elemental weakness. Now, there are a lot of monsters that have elemental weaknesses, and depending on the regions you pick, you'll have different monsters you want to kill, and then where this is going to have added benefit to. Now, remember that the Shadow is a two-handed weapon, and so this is not going to work with the Shadow, but this will work with all the other one-handed magic weapons, which are really powerful, but this doubles that elemental resistance effect. So there's a good chance that you're going to be able to do really massive amounts of damage, especially let's say you're just getting unlucky and you're not getting a Shadow from the raids, or you happen to just not go for any raid regions, but you did go for Kandarin. This is going to be a really nice weapon of choice. And also the occult was nerfed since the past league, and so this is also going to add a little added bonus for your magic damage. And so this is overall a really good item. I think it's nice that it's it's kind of gated by 93 Slayer, but overall I think this boss is going to be a little bit easier to kill, and therefore the item is a little bit lower in power level overall. Still, nonetheless, I think it's going to be a very powerful item, and it's going to kind of just round out your magic setup, especially if you don't have a Shadow, which is really nice. All right, DKs. This one, super duper exciting. Now, if you remember in the beginning, I talked about, hey, Fremenic already has a bunch of rings, right? But this ring, this Emperor ring, oh my God, the stats are absolutely busted. You get this ring, you never take it off. It is the best in slot, hands down, as far as I can tell, in every situation. There's no reason you ever take that ring off, and the same thing goes for the necklace. Now, the necklace, there are other top-end necklaces that you might want to use, for the blood shard effects and things like that. But again, it's still really, really powerful. These are pretty much like, think of like the Barrow's gloves from RFD, but even better than them. at the top end, like more than twice is better. But kind of think of it as like a best in slot all-rounder item. You get this item, you use it for every type of combat thing, and it's great. I'm assuming that each boss that you kill will have a chance to drop it, and so that's important to note. And they didn't allude to any like pieces to combine or anything like that. So yeah, if there's a way that you can kill just one of the bosses and then you can get a drop, the way you can kind of safe spot Rex, that would be kind of cool. And then you can just safe spot Rex and not have to fight all three. Clarification still TBD. If I get some information, I'll leave a comment below with some details on that. All right, Hunlif. Now, this blessing that you get from Hunlif is going to be hands down the best in slot blessing that you can get. It's 5 prayer versus the 2 prayer blessings we have in the game. So right there, it unlocks a best in slot item. You have to kill the corrupted Hunlif to get a chance, I think, at the Echo Orb. I don't think it was guaranteed for this one. But once you kill the corrupted Hunlif, you get a chance to get the Echo Orb, and then you kill this. You don't have to prep at all. From the video, it looked like you get full tier 3 gear and weapons, and then you just have to fight this, which is really nice because once you get the Echo Orb, you can just spam these fights until you get this blessing, right? Remember, all the items have a chance to drop, so it's not a guaranteed drop from just killing the boss once, but I believe it's totally going to be achievable. I don't think Jagex plans on making the drop rates abysmal by any means. The secondary effect to the crystal armor is really good if you're going to go melee setup. They haven't revealed all the combat masteries yet, so I'm still holding off on what combat style I want to go. Again, it's really powerful because crystal armor is really powerful overall. Now imagine if you're going to, anytime you're going to duo like a crystal range and melee setup, for any raid or any activity that you're doing, you can just keep the crystal armor on, and it's going to be best in slot kind of for your melee and your range, which is going to be really, really nice. So I think 1, just best in slot item for prayer bonus, and then 2, really good benefits for melee if you are going to go tier on 1. All right, Hisor. Now this one is blocked behind farming and planting a seed, but this one you are guaranteed to get an Echo Orb on your first Hisor kill. This is going to give you kind of like a boosted salamander kind of item. So if you don't have like really top end gear, this is a really good item to get you started in attacking. It does charge with a nature and 5 earth runes, but other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Has all 3 combat styles, really good overall stats. The way I see this is if you plan on starting as early as a skiller and just focusing on your skills first to get a lot of your points, once you get this item, you're going to be able to kind of just use this all the way until you get way better in-slot items. So again, kind of like those rings and the amulet that you got from the Dagonoth Kings, this is going to be like a weapon variant of that. But overall, a really nice, well-rounded item to use for a while until you get better in-slot for each specific things. And even then, if you just get one specific item, you can still keep using this until you round out all 3 items. And if you're lazy like me and you don't want to do a lot of switches, maybe you just bring this one item in. That means you got more inventory space for food, and that makes the game a little bit easier. Overall, really good item, really good effects and damages with this, which is nice. Now, the one thing I'm really curious about is when you kill a spore, you get a lot of farming experience. Now, I don't know if they've clarified this or not yet. I'm trying to do this video as early as possible. But if you get farming XP, this would be the fastest way to 99 of any skill with the XP rate multipliers. I'm guessing Jagex thought about that and they didn't include that. But if that's not the case, you plant 1 Hisor seed and then you just, PVM Hisor until you get to 99 farming, which would be absolute bonkers. Also, I'm guessing these Echo bosses will have their regular drops that the bosses have as well. So Hisor is just overall good access to a lot of good seeds. And the fact that once you get the Echo Orb, you can just keep killing this Hisor and you don't have to wait for the plant and grow cycles. That would be a really fast way to get the bottomless bucket, get a lot more seeds, kind of really amplify and get your farming really going. So again, I like this boss more for the really cool early game item. I think of it as kind of like a warp scepter before you get access to even like the trident or better gear. And then also for just really well rounding the farming skill, which is really nice. All right, Herod. I don't even know how to pronounce the last name. I haven't killed this boss myself, so I'm not an expert. I know that in order to get the Echo Orb, you're guaranteed it, but you do need to complete all the waves of the Colosseum. So that is probably pretty rare for the average player. I think most players have never killed this or even attempted the Colosseum, if you're like me. But once you do, and hopefully with the relics and the max stats that we're gonna get, and the really cool items we're gonna get, this is gonna be a boss that they did hint that this boss difficulty was like Grandmaster. And it's already a complicated boss fight, so I can't imagine the difficulty we're going to have here trying to kill this new variation of Soul. But it does drop 2 really cool items. Now, the Sunlit Spear, it says spear, but it's spear and shield. It's a 2-handed weapon. Pretty much what he's wearing right now, you get access to that. That has, I think of it as like a melee combat-focused Denny B, because it has really good defensive stats, but also really good offensive stats. Its special attack is an AoE, and it uses these sunlit stacks as opposed to using your special attack. So you can use like a spec weapon, and then you can keep fighting with the Sunlit Spear, and then use a Sunlit Spear spec with the sunlit stacks that you have. Pretty cool combination of things you can do here. Also, the bracers double your healing. Now, there are overall there was a healing relic in the past. There was also really good, regen over time relics and stuff, and defensive relics as well. So I'm not sure where you're really going to want to maximize the effects of the healing bracelets over any other glove slots that you might want to use, especially because we're all going to be picking 3 regions. And if your other regions do have a glove slot that you want to use, that might be valuable. So just keep that in mind. Overall, I think this is going to be a pretty rare item for the top end of players who get, which is kind of nice and not nice. I wish they had a different boss for Volamore, just for people who are not so expert level at the game. That said, the relics should make it a lot easier, and this would be a great time, like I mentioned last league, to do a lot of learning. And so I would recommend learning from the fight. All right, that's all I got. That's my hot take on the boss variations. I think this was really like an item spoiler as opposed to a boss spoiler. If you found this video helpful, definitely subscribe below. I'm going to keep doing daily videos. And if you found this information confusing or